Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is Saturday morning, Multifamily Unplugged. And if you are up by yourself, go stick a cup of coffee in somebody's hand and get them up, because we are going to have some raw, uninterrupted conversation this morning that you are really going to enjoy. That's for sure. If you are new to this show, welcome. Just ask that maybe you follow us on social media if that's not where you found us from. But anywhere that you hang out and get your social media fix, you'll find me, you'll find my core intentions, and you will find relevant content to help you grow your multifamily business and scale it to the next level. You know, it's all about how do we get to be the next income earner, or how do we get into the 1% of top income earners. And that's the product, or that's the topics that we want to cover and talk about. And that's what we're going to bring in today. So I just ask you, follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on social media. And then one thing I like to always ask and just kind of stick out there for you to think about this morning is, what are you being intentional about in your life? People ask me so often, why'd you name your company My Core Intentions? And I say that because I want people to be intentional. I want you to be intentional about when you listen into our guest this morning and the conversation that we have. What's the one or two insider secrets or nuggets that you can walk away with that's going to totally spiral your business? Take a couple of notes and listen in between the lines and find that thing that is going to help you take your business to the next level. I'm glad that you're here this morning. So let me introduce our guest. I am joined this morning by Josh Cantwell. And I have to tell you, Josh and I have tried to get together for the last 6 months, and it has just kind of been COVID and pandemic and on and off and travel and all kinds of things. And we're finally connecting today, and I'm excited about that. But Josh is a true entrepreneur. He prides himself on never having had a boss his entire life. Kind of sounds like me. I'm unemployable, that's for sure. But he's a native of Northeast Ohio. Josh graduated from Baldwin Wallace College in 1998. And after graduation, he obtained his Series 6, 63, and 66. Josh, I think that you probably should be playing lottery tickets weekly with those numbers, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And those are in life and health insurance licenses. He also worked as a financial advisor. Josh is a coach, a trainer, really specializes in the multifamily business. And Josh, welcome to the show. And I have to say first that poster behind you or hanging behind you, No Guts, No Glory, I'm sure that we're going to talk a lot about that today.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mike, for having me on. I am super excited that we finally got to be on the show, and we're looking forward to it. And yeah, we've had, that your intro with the financial planning has been a huge part of my kind of all of my adult life. I got, started right after college as a financial planner, and you would think, man, you're 22, 23, 25 years old. What do you know about financial planning? Well, I didn't know much when I started, but I learned very fast. And I quickly learned that most of my clients had their biggest assets in real estate, not in the market, not in the stock market, not stocks, bonds, mutual funds, but they own real estate. And so even though I was in the financial markets, started paying attention to real estate at a very young age. And now I've been in the real estate business well over 20 years. And we own a $200 million portfolio and over 3,000 units of apartments. But it really started with that financial background, that financial planning background, to understand, what are people really trying to do with their money, right? Raising capital, deploying their capital, making smart investments is really the backbone of what we're all trying to do. So thanks for the introduction. And that's been a huge part of, our success over the years.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm really excited about having you here. And here's the things that I'm hoping that we're really going to dive into, Josh, today is the 9 traits of an elite entrepreneur and an average 8-figure multifamily investor, along with raising private capital. But
Sure.
Before we get into that stuff, here's what I always ask people is, I want to know in one word, Josh, what best describes you personally and professionally?
Yeah, the word that sticks out, Mike, is authentic. One of the things that I was blessed with, this is going to sound a little bit bizarre, but I was blessed to be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer when I was 35 years old, 10 years ago. And when you fight through a disease like that, that has only a 6 or an 8% survival rate, today the survival rate's up to 11%. But when I was diagnosed, 94 people out of 100 who were diagnosed with that same disease died within 5 years. And so you realize very quickly when your life's put on the line, I was married with 3 small kids, that the only thing that mattered was relationships. It was about, being authentic with my family, authentic with my friends, authentic with my business. And prior to that, it was more of a kind of like a fake it till I make it strategy up until that time, where I maybe projected that I was bigger, better, more successful than I was. I was very successful in what I was doing, but it always felt like I was chasing something else. And then when I became a cancer survivor and I was blessed to be one of the 6 or 8% that make it, I swore that the second half of my life, I would kind of realize why I was put on this earth, why God allowed me to survive. And I would be authentic and I would do and say things that were congruent with each other. And I was going to be very honest and open and very transparent with people. Whether I had success, whether it was good, bad, or ugly, I was going to be authentic because, when you become a cancer survivor at a very young age, you realize you're not going to BS people anymore. Like life is way too short.
Right.
Just who you are, be authentic, be real, and allow that to create amazing relationships. And so that was the one word that really I stand by. It's the backbone of what we do.
I love what you say about creating amazing relationships, marriages, friendships, business relationships. This real estate world that we live in, Josh, is such a relationship business.
No doubt.
I feel because you and I have tried to get together for so long that we already know each other, right? This is really the first time we get to talk, but I really feel like, because of all of that back and forth that I kind of know Josh. So I'm grateful for that. But listen, authentic. I love that. And can you share a couple of things during that journey of fighting cancer, what you did and maybe did differently to beat the odds?
Yeah, I wish, Mike, it's a great question about beating the odds. Look, I took care of myself. I was physically ready for a big surgery. But frankly, I can take no credit for it. My surgeon saved my life in the operating room. Dr. Walsh, performed a 10-hour surgery. They took out all my insides, Mike. They took out my gallbladder, my spleen, my entire stomach, most of my liver, most of my pancreas. They had to take veins and arteries out of my leg and put them in the back of my liver. To put it into perspective, that 10-hour surgery, they cycled 21 units of blood through my entire body. To put that into perspective, you and I have 7 units of blood in our entire body right now as we sit here. So I have everybody else's blood in my body except my own. And so I can take no credit for that. I was just sleeping on the operating table for 10 hours. But I did take care of myself. I was baffled when I was diagnosed with such an advanced cancer because I was young. I thought I was very healthy. I was very fit. I was kind of ready for the surgery for those reasons. And then afterwards, the things that I learned was really more about, again, relationships, people, and business. Specifically, the business lesson, Mike, was that I had screwed everything up prior to that. I was very successful flipping houses. I was very successful wholesaling, doing multifamily, small multifamily, but mostly doing residential. And I was very transactional. I did one deal, we made a pile of money, then I had to go do another one. And I realized that when I was ripped away from my business for 6 months or 9 months and doing all these appointments and doctor's appointments and preparing, and then the surgery, and then a 4-month, 5-month recovery and relearning how to eat. I literally had to relearn how to eat. I realized I had screwed it all up because I had almost no income coming in. And thankfully, my wife and I had made a bunch of money. We had money put away, but that was all being drained very fast. And we were going negative every month. And so I swore that I would try to redo it better the second time. And I would create a business that had cash flow. And we've successfully done that now over the last 5 or 6 years and investing in multifamily. We've built a giant portfolio, a couple $100 million and over 3,000 units. We also sold last year 1,300 units. So the actual number is over 4,000 of total deals. And we don't really have to worry anymore about that cash flow problem, right? And I don't have to worry about if I take days or weeks or months off with my family and my kids and go do fun things or go to their school for recess or go on a long family vacation. I don't have to worry about those kind of things anymore. So I screwed it up the first time pretty bad. And it was that surgery that kind of made it all right for me. And so I would just encourage your audience to think about, what can they learn from that without going through the experience that I went through?
Yeah.
Right. Invest for cash now. That's one of the 9 traits of elite entrepreneurs, is to invest for cash flow now. Don't invest for profits. Don't invest for equity. Those things will come. Okay. But invest for cash flow now. Buy assets, whether it's multifamily or businesses that will cash flow. Maybe they don't cash flow right on day one, but they'll cash flow within 6 months or 12 months or 18 months that will produce cash flow, because you can't eat equity. Okay. Equity is great on the balance sheet, but you can't put it in your mouth. It's not food. It doesn't pay for vacations. Equity is great balance sheet builder, but invest for cash flow now. That's the ultimate thing I learned from that surgery.
Yeah, 2 things I teach the people that I work with is cash flow and long-term wealth. And I think those are the 2 things that really make the economies of scale in the multifamily that much more productive for everybody that's involved. Josh, jump into the 9 traits of a elite entrepreneur and an 8-figure multifamily investor.
Sure. Well, number 1 is invest for cash flow now. Right. And you've already heard that lesson and why it's so important. But number 2, Mike, is listen, nobody's coming to your rescue. Okay. It's another lesson I learned fighting pancreatic cancer, is that you have to have 100% accountability for yourself. You have the capacity to design and build your own life. Whatever you can imagine can come true, as long as you take responsibility for it. So when I got diagnosed with cancer, I didn't blame God. I didn't blame the world. I looked at my eating habits. What did I eat? What could I have done differently to avoid, having a body that would produce cancer that was toxic? I also realized in a business perspective that my businesses were bleeding. My personal finances were bleeding, but nobody was going to come to my rescue. Nobody was going to give me a lottery ticket to fix it. I had to go fix it myself. Okay. And so you start to realize that you just have to put one foot in front of the other. Nobody's coming to your rescue. And that if you take 100% responsibility for your own life, you realize now how freeing that is. No more excuses, no more blaming, no more pointing fingers. You only have yourself to be responsible to. Mm-hmm. And so if you want another $100,000 a month of passive income, then nobody's going to come to your rescue and create that for you. You have to wake up and think, how am I going to create value in my own business to create a better experience, to buy more properties? Nobody's coming to your rescue. And every single elite entrepreneur I've been around, I've been fortunate to coach thousands of people, speak on stages with Kevin O'Leary and Barbara Corcoran and Donald Trump Jr. and Jack Canfield. And so many of them have a similar message that nobody was coming to their rescue. And so I realized that firsthand when I was fighting cancer, is that nobody was going to come and help me and just rescue my finances and rescue my business. I had to take 100% responsibility for that. And every elite entrepreneur that I know, every big multifamily investor that I know, they're not waiting for someone else to make decisions for them. They're not waiting for the next deal to fall in their lap. They take 100% responsibility for that. And they have nobody coming to their rescue. So I think that's invest for cash flow and take responsibility. Those first 2 are so the core of why we've been successful. And I think the core of what other people need to have. Otherwise, the other 7 that I'm going to discuss don't really matter at all. Those first 2 are the critical ones.
Yeah. There's so much there, and I hope you don't mind. This is why I like doing these podcasts, because I get so much from you as my guest and other guests that I've had on my shows. I'm going to steal some of this, Josh. And
Sure.
here's what they say: if you take one thing, it's theft, but if you take a bunch, it's research. So I'm just here doing research today,
I love
Josh.
it. I love it. I once listened to a podcast, Mike, with the founder of 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And he
Okay.
had a great quote. He said, "Yeah, I've done a lot of R&D in my life." And he
Yeah.
said, "It's not research and development, it's rip off and duplicate." Right. So that was from the CEO of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, who built a massive company. Right. So again, nobody's coming to your rescue. Mike, number 3 is, listen, to be an elite entrepreneur and a really successful multifamily investor, you have to have super time management skills. Okay. So one of the things that I like to do is on Sunday nights, what I call post and prioritize. Okay. Every Sunday night, it might be like during the football season, I might be watching Sunday night football, or during the summer, I might be out on my patio, or, in the hot tub, or just doing whatever. But I get a notepad out and I look at everything that I accomplished in the last week. I look at all of the main things that need to get done in the business, and I post and prioritize every Sunday night. That allows me to lay out my calendar and actually put things into my calendar for the rest of the week, really this next week, but really the next 4 weeks. I like to operate roughly a month ahead of schedule. And so you have to have super time management skills, because if you're going to be a great multifamily investor and a lead entrepreneur, you're going to have a lot of other people who are following your lead. And if you're bad at time management, guess what everybody else is? They're terrible at time management. If you can't manage your time and be on time for meetings and set up a meeting cadence that works for your whole company, everyone else is going to be frazzled. They're going to be not focused. They're not going to know which direction the company is going. So it starts with the CEO having super time management skills. And so what we do, we subscribe to a program I learned from Dan Sullivan almost 25, 30 years ago, where we have free days, focus days, and buffer days. So in our company, our focus days are Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, where we have no meetings. We focus on making revenue. We focus on recruiting capital. We focus on the dirt in the business, focus on revenue production. That's a focus day. And then a buffer day for us is Tuesdays and Fridays, where we have meetings. This is the time when we do things in the business that have to be done, but that don't necessarily make revenue, like meetings. It could be, going to the bank. It could be going to the post office, basic stuff like that. Maybe you're having a meeting with your secretary, your staff, those kind of things. Those are necessary in business, but they don't necessarily drive revenue, right? One thing I realized in this number 3 time management skills, Mike, is my team hates meetings. Any productive company, any productive CEO hates meetings. They're necessary. So you have to group them together on certain days, because it's a different mindset. The days where you're driving revenue or recruiting capital or finding deals, those are revenue production days, versus a buffer day where you're having meetings. Mentally, they're totally different. Psychologically, they're totally different actions. So you have to separate those into different days of the week. So for me, the posting and prioritizing Sunday nights, and then the focus day and the buffer day concept is hugely important for us to have these really super time management skills. It starts with the CEO and then it bleeds down from there.
Boy, that is an awesome example. I love the 3-day and 2-day deal. Because I can see where, when you play offense more often, your business is going to grow, right? I think as entrepreneurs, we tend to play defense way too much. And when we play defense like that, it throws us off our game. All right. So what's number 4, Josh?
Number 4 is, listen, this is more of a personal thing, is that you have to refuse what I call the screen sucking OCD loop. Okay. And what I mean is, so many people wake up with no plan, no time management skill, no calendar, and they jump up and they check their email. Then they check Facebook, then they check Twitter, then they check Yahoo, they check ESPN, they check the local news. Then they get a couple things done for work. They send out a couple emails, and then they go back to that second email that they really don't ever check, but they have to check it anyway. And then all of a sudden 3 hours goes by and they're like, oh my God, I haven't gotten anything done yet.
Yeah, right.
So I call that the screen sucking OCD loop, because it goes right from one screen to the next piece of technology, right? And this also includes refusing to be around negativity, refusing to be around toxic people or leeches that suck your time. It's this obsessive compulsive disorder of screen sucking and negative people. And it's this loop that just happens with social media and technology. Now, I love technology. I love software. We're going to talk about that next, but you have to refuse it. So what I physically do is I literally delete Facebook and Instagram from my phone, and I only re-download it when I want intentionally. Mike, you talked about intention earlier. When I want to intentionally use it to make a post about my personal life or business that's going to drive my relationships forward or drive my business forward. Otherwise, I delete it because it's so addictive, man. It's like a little present. We get this little ding, this little pop-up, this little red bubble in the corner that says you have messages, whether it's email, whether it's Facebook, and it's this loop. It's the screen sucking loop that you can't get away from because it's like a little gift. You got a little gift. You got a little direct message from a friend. You want to open it right away, but it's so unproductive. Yeah. So unproductive. So I've just decided to delete the technology from my phone when I don't need it, when I'm not using it. And then when I want to use it, I re-download it. I use it for the purpose that I need it for. And then I re-delete it again.
I think a lot that I should send my phone to my VA and just let her deal with it and just get one just with a number on it, right? And that's it for texting. And so that's a great point.
Yeah, that you have to refuse that. That goes right back into that, kind of merges in with number 3, having super time management skills. Now, that leads me to number 5, Mike, which is elite entrepreneurs use technology as a weapon. And as you mentioned before, play offense more than defense. They use technology as an offensive weapon, right? To think about like the NFL, right? Tyreek Hill just got traded from the Kansas City Chiefs to the Miami Dolphins. And they talk about he's the most advanced offensive weapon in the NFL, right? Mm-hmm. So that person is a weapon. Technology in our businesses can be used as a weapon. So we use technology and we tell our team, if it's not in the software, it didn't happen. Okay. I remember when I was growing up, I graduated from college. I lived with my friend, Kevin. And every night Kevin he was in pharmaceutical sales. Well, every night he would sit down on the floor, he got his computer open and he started plowing his notes into their software. And he said, well, Josh, listen, I was asking him, well, Kevin, how come you do that every night? He said, well, my boss requires it. I have to put it in the software. My business partner now, Glenn Lytle, he says, listen, if it's not in the software, it didn't happen. There's all these ideas in my head, his head, our team's head, my director of operations, my CFO, my property managers. I can't read everybody's mind. All right. When you own 3,000 doors, we've got almost 8,000 people who live on our campuses. Okay. We have an $8 million CapEx budget right now that we're going through. I can't read your stinking mind. So when I tell my CapEx team, my property management team, my CFO, if it's not in the software, it didn't happen. It's the only way to scale is by putting things in software. So we use Infusionsoft to build funnels and do email marketing. We use Buildertrend for CapEx budgets. We use a program called HappyCo for due diligence when we walk through our properties. We use AppFolio for property management and investor management. And then one of our other property managers use another program called Yardi. There's all these different softwares, but software is only as good if you adopt it, right? And that's the problem with software. So many people don't adopt it. They just keep all their notes in their head, or they keep it on a yellow pad. They keep it in a Google Doc. We force our team to download everything that happened in their day, right? At the end of every day, they've got to take time to download that stuff and put it in the software. Use technology as a weapon. That way, as a CEO, you can read those notes. You can see the reports. And you don't have to, quote unquote, call a meeting, right? The numbers don't lie. The software doesn't lie. Put it in the software. Then one of your employees, they can't kind of massage away the truth.
Right.
It goes into the software and everybody sees it, right? It's so easy in the meeting to tell a different story than what really happened. If you force everybody to put it in the software, they can't fake the numbers. They can't fake the pictures. They can't fake the information. So elite entrepreneurs, adopt technology, they use it as a weapon, and they force their team to adopt it as well. That was a huge one for us to go from, managing 100 units to 1,000 units to 4,000 units, was that technology.
Let me ask this real quick. What is the number one software that you lean on the most?
Well, for sure, when it comes to CapEx, it's Builder Trend is the software that we use because we have a big CapEx budget. And then, of course, with our property managers, it's Appfolio for property management. But I also love Basecamp. We use Basecamp, which is a project management software. So we don't use it for property management. When we have special projects, kind of one-off projects, it could be, doing a investor, like a gifting, or we gift to our limited partners and investors. We put that in. If we have birthdays and vacation time, and we have special projects, they go into Basecamp. And so they all kind of have different purposes. And what I love about it is they all have apps on my phone, right? So I can be in the field, I could be at the beach, I could be at the gym, and I can look at Infusionsoft, HappyCo, I can look at Builder Trend, Appfolio, Basecamp, whenever I want. And I don't have to call a meeting.
Yeah. Nice.
So
number 6.
Yeah, number 6, right? And this goes right back, Mike, to being intentional. This is hugely important for me. I started doing an exercise. This is over 15, 20 years ago. And I call it the ACER exercise. And that's ACER. ACER. It's an acronym, and it stands for absolute clarity of the end result. ACER, absolute clarity of the end result. And so when you talk about your comment earlier about it being intentional, so many people are, kind of just floating down the river, and the river has a current, and whichever way the river's going to push them, they're just going to go with the current. Well, right now, the world is all these multiple currents, right? There's a sports current, like, what's going on with sports? There's, the national championship and NCAA that happened this past couple of weeks, March Madness. There's the war in Ukraine. There's family currents. There's emotional currents. There's financial currents that are all pushing on your boat. Okay. Well, if you don't know exactly where you want your little canoe to end up, and you're not willing to put your oars in the water and push that canoe to a specific location, well, guess what? The rest of the current, the rest of the river is going to push you wherever the heck it wants. It's going to push you up against the rocks. It's going to beat you on the shore. It's going to, sink your boat. And so when I talk about absolute clarity, what I mean is getting really, really clear in really minute detail about where you want to be. Like, for example, Mike, I know 4 years from now that my wife and I want to move to Florida. Okay. 4 years from now. My daughter's graduating from 8th grade right now. She's going to be in high school for the next 4 years. My son's in 4th grade. 4 years from now, he'll be wrapping up 8th grade. And then my middle daughter, unfortunately, she's kind of the sacrificial lamb. She'll be between her sophomore year and junior year of high school, but she's my most adaptable kid. So we've made a plan that 4 years from now, we're going to leave the Cleveland, Ohio area and specifically move to Naples, Florida. Right. We're going down to Naples, Florida in 2 weeks from now to actually look at houses and look at neighborhoods and figure out where we want to live. We know exactly the kind of budget that we have for that house. We know exactly the style of house that we want to have. And so now we're just working with our multifamily business to achieve that goal. We know the date, we know the time, we know the location, the city, the type of house, the approximate budget. And so we're specifically rowing our little canoe down the river, avoiding all the currents that are pushing on us to get to that one end goal. So what kind of car do you want? What kind of house? What kind of land? What kind of team? What kind of business? What kind of passive income? What kind of dream do you have? Yeah. Because the only way you're going to get there is if you know exactly where you want to end up. Because there's going to be friends, family, the news, financial pressures that are going to always pull you away from that goal, away from that end result. And so elite entrepreneurs that I've coached and people that I've seen accomplish amazing things, they're not just winging it. They're super duper intentional about what they do on a daily basis and what they're trying to accomplish. And eventually at some point, it might take a little longer than they thought or a little shorter than they thought, but they get there. They get there. And the people that are like, well, my life isn't working out the way I wanted. My marriage isn't working out the way I wanted. My multifamily business isn't working out the way I wanted. It's probably because they didn't really know where they were going.
That separates the people who quit or keep going is that piece right there that you just talked about. And I love the fact that you talked about the crystal clearness of it. Tony Robbins talked years ago, right, about, when you visualize, make sure you have that clear picture, not foggy, not muddy, not dark, but clear, crystal clear, white, light, bright. And I think that you just alluded to that by saying, hey, if you know exactly what it is, you're going to get there.
That's right. I even listen, Mike, I coach volleyball. I coach club volleyball, like these grade school kids, right? 4th through 8th grade. Traveled all over the country. And when we're having a bad set and the other team that we should be beating is beating us, because volleyball is a lot about momentum, right? It's a very exciting sport, especially with young girls jumping and playing and smashing the ball and spiking the ball. It's a very emotional sport. And sometimes the momentum doesn't go your way. When that happens and I call a timeout, I pull the kids in the huddle, I will often tell them to close their eyes and imagine making the perfect pass to the setter. I'll say, imagine now, close your eyes and envision yourself making the perfect set to our outside hitter. And then if you're an outside hitter, close your eyes and imagine that you're jumping and you're high and you're playing above the net and you smash the ball and the other team can't return your spike. Because when things start going the wrong way, momentum is getting away from you. Right. It's very tough to get back, to get in your canoe and row in the right direction. So you have to envision it first. That's where it all starts, right? So I do this with 10, 11, 12, and 14-year-old girls, right? And I know it works for adults too. So that's very, very important.
I'm going to start using that in my golf game, Josh.
You know what? It'll help. Just envision it going down the middle, landing on the green. I'm sure that helps more than envisioning it going in the woods, right?
That's right. Because that's where it goes a lot. That's where I'm at a lot, is in the woods.
You're like, when you're standing over the ball and you're like, oh God, I hope I don't hit this in the woods. And then, right, what do? You duff it in the woods.
Yeah, right.
And I'm just going to hit this clean. I'm going to hit it smooth. It's going to land on the green. And then it does. So it matters. But Mike, listen, this next concept I think is really important. This is more around marketing. This is more around brand. The elite entrepreneurs that I've worked with, coached, and been coached by, they've scaled what I call the one-to-many concept. One-to-many, meaning you and I are on this podcast, right? It's me and you. And this is going to get out to many, many, many people. Okay. Yep. So whether it's one-to-many on Facebook, where you can make one post and get hundreds of eyeballs or thousands of eyeballs, whether you can record a YouTube video one time, put in the work one time and get thousands and thousands and thousands of views. So many people are afraid to speak or teach in front of crowds. And I will tell you that almost all the elite entrepreneurs that I've met, they've scaled the one-to-many concept. You look at Elon Musk, right? He just bought into Twitter this past week. And he put on Twitter that he bought Twitter. Yeah, so everybody heard about it like that, right? So you can't be an elite entrepreneur and just kind of get tucked into your turtle shell and hope that people know your brand, they know who you are, that you can successfully raise money, that you can find deals if you're not out there, right? And out there, I would tell people, look, scale one of the social media platforms. Could be iTunes. Maybe it's podcasting first. Maybe it's Facebook first. Maybe it's Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. Focus on scaling one and building one audience that you can really engage with. Scale that one-to-many concept with one platform. And when you've nailed that platform, then go to number 2, then go to number 3. The problem is most people want to scale all the platforms and then they have no audience, right? They have a small audience on Facebook. They have a small audience on YouTube. They have a small podcast instead of just really getting good at one.
Got it. Scale
that one-to-many concept, right? That's really important. That's going to allow you to get more deal flow and raise more capital.
I love that. And I love that you set that up saying this is about marketing, because that's exactly what it is. And I think that what we need to remember as an entrepreneur is that we are in the marketing business, wrapped in whatever we do, whether you're
Right.
a car repair guy or a contractor or in the multifamily space.
That's right.
So I learned that years ago from somebody and have always just adopted that in my life.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Mike, number 8. I know we're starting to run short on time, so I'm going to hit this. Number 8 is so key to keeping customers, which is every elite entrepreneur that I know focuses on service. Service trumps price.
Mm.
Okay. I can get somebody into one of my apartment complexes and I can put together an amazing CapEx budget and do a hard turn on a unit. Maybe I drop $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 on a unit and it's beautiful. It's got granite and white chicker cabinets and LVP flooring and the whole thing. But if my property management sucks,
Yeah,
that guy's not going to stay.
that's right.
Right. Service trumps price. And so many of the buildings that we've bought, just in the last 3 months, I bought a 170 unit, a 220 unit, and a 296 unit. Okay. We've added almost 700 units to our portfolio just in the last couple months. We also sold off last year 1,300 units. So we're a very active operator. And I can tell you that every building that we've bought, the residents said, property management doesn't care about us. We submit a ticket, we submit a maintenance ticket. There's a leak. They don't take care of it, or they put a Band-Aid on it. So I'm out of here. Right. And then when we say, look, we're going to onboard software again, you can submit a maintenance ticket on the software. You can make payment on the software. You can leave us a review on the software. You can review our repairs and maintenance guys on the software. Software, again, that's why technology, number 5 that we talked about earlier, using technology as a weapon, because that allows you to create great service that will allow you to keep these residents long-term. So the less turnover, the better. Look, Mike, as you know, and you probably have these metrics in your own business, we make about $1,300 to $1,500 per year per unit that we own of net free cash flow, net free distributable cash flow, $1,300 to $1,500 per year per unit. So if I've got a unit that's vacant for a month, I've just lost at least half, if not 75, 80% of that profit for the year. So service is so critical to keeping residents. Maybe not, you could fake it at the beginning. You could fake a unit and you could lie and cheat and steal with your residents and trick them into leasing a unit. Sure. You're going to have the best property management, you have the best experience, and then everything sucks and everything's leaking. Nothing works in their unit. You could fake it, so they're not going to stay. But if you want people to stay long-term, service trumps price, right? So getting people in is one thing, keeping them, especially in this business, turnover is bad, right? Vacancy is bad. Service trumps price. That's so critical.
Yeah,
and finally, Mike, listen,
real quick, I always say that tenant retention is an art, and you have to become an artist and hang on to those tenants a little bit better. And it goes to the communication. Go ahead. Number 9.
Yeah. Finally, number 9, let's look, this is so critical. I learned years ago that the business of business is people. Being good at business is not about creating the latest technology, the latest software, the next Facebook. It's about people. Most of us, as we talked about earlier, like we're R&Ding our way through business. We don't have to create the newest, best thing. People say all the time, don't reinvent the wheel. Okay, so let's not reinvent the wheel. We're investing in multifamily. We're investing in apartments. It's not new. But what is new is the people that work for you, that work under you, that are part of your culture. And if you're going to build an amazing business, the elite entrepreneurs that I've met in my own business, it's all about the people. Okay, we hire right. We interview for culture. We want people to be fun and exciting. We want, Mike, I say this all the time, I don't hire people ever to learn on the job. I expect people, when they come and they get invited to work in my business and they get a job offer, I want them to already know the job, know the role from their previous experience. I want them to add value to my company, not learn on the job. So if they can bring in new ideas that they had from their previous employer, they could bring in new relationships from their previous employer, they're adding value. Yeah. Now I can focus just on making sure that they understand the vision. Where are we going? What is our culture like? Do you have a fun goof off, happy hour culture, that's fine if that's your culture. Okay. Ours is a super professional, authentic culture where service trumps price. My team knows that. That's what we do. Right. And because we're so good at it, we can have fun together. We can go do team functions, but it's all about the people. And as soon as I'll tell you right now, if you have A players on your team and you have a C player in your organization, that C player is going to fail quickly. They're going to be ignored by the A players. If they're going to stick out like a sore thumb very fast, because when you hire A players, they only want to be around A players. Yep. So the business is people. You can't look down on your employees and disrespect them and think you're going to have a great business. The business will happen by encouraging and by nurturing people. That's what it's really all about at the end of the day.
It's always about leading from within, right? It's leading from inside, almost the middle of the organization, leading from there, and it pushes and pulls those people. It goes back to a people business, right?
Right.
And
Mike, I had a conversation. I had a review with one of my employees last week, and she's, I use this Gary Vaynerchuk concept. He talks about the cloud and the dirt.
Yeah,
the clouds and there's people that have to operate in the clouds. There's people that have to operate in the dirt. And if you want to be a great CEO, you have to come down out of the clouds and operate in the dirt with your people sometimes. But I also have to have my people that are in the dirt understand, that are doing property management, that are doing CapEx, that are turning units, that are, taking deliveries of materials and storing it, and they're swinging hammers and they're signing leases, that I am no more important than you. It's about mutual respect.
Yeah.
Somebody has to operate in the cloud so I can be outside of my business and slightly above my business and look down upon my business and our business. And I can see where the choke points are. I can see where we're winning, where we're losing, where the KPIs that we're hitting and we're not. Somebody has to sit in that seat. That's my seat as a CEO. I have to sit in that seat. It doesn't mean that just because I have a laborer or a maintenance guy, who maybe makes $45,000 or $50,000 a year, doesn't mean he's any less important. I need him. He needs me. Right. So it's about the people and about that mutual respect between the people in the clouds, which is often the C-level executives, and the people in the dirt, who are often the directors, the VPs, the workers. But so many C-level executives or leaders look down on their people and they're like, oh, why are you taking so long? Why are you so far over budget? It's not their fault. Right, they would do a good job if they could. They would be on time if they could. Right. So it's so critical to make sure that mutual respect is there.
Nice. Josh, I have to thank you. You covered a lot of ground here today, and I appreciate that. And, what I want to do is I just want to wind it down a little bit. I got a couple of bonus round questions to ask you because I always like to find out who somebody really is, right? What's the best book you ever read?
I've got a bunch. Extreme Ownership by Jocko is great. Who Not How by Dan Sullivan is fantastic. Principles by Ray Dalio, especially the newest one that he just came out with, Principles of the New World Order. I geek out on history. I geek out on financial history. Yeah. So those are really three of the most recent ones that I can remember that I really loved.
Nice. Favorite tourist attraction?
I'm not like a big tourist guy, but I just love to sit on a quiet, sandy beach in Naples, Florida. We've been down there 25 times at least, and we bike and walk and drink beer on the beach, and that's where I love to go.
Nice. And then favorite food, favorite restaurant?
Favorite food for sure is pizza. I'm a pizza connoisseur.
When are you coming to Chicago, Josh? We got the best pizza in the world.
I love pizza of all kinds. There's a place in town in Cleveland called Angelo's, which is over in Lakewood. I actually own a couple buildings in Lakewood, and to me, Angelo's is up there. It's really good stuff.
I think it's a pizza day. I'm going to have pizza for lunch now. Josh, this has been great. I appreciate your time. Tell people how they reach out to you, get a hold of you if they want to connect with you.
They could just go visit freelandventures.com. That's our company, Freeland Ventures. There they can see our portfolio. They can see our, videos. They can check out our books. freelandventures.com is where it's at.
Nice. Josh, this has been a pleasure. I learned so much today. I know my listeners have as well. I want to thank you for being here, and I look forward to continuing to build our relationship. Hey, everybody, thanks for being here. We are here every Saturday morning, and we bring great content, don't we? So make sure you're following us on social media so that you remember. Wake somebody up next time, and maybe you want to send somebody this recording, tag them in, and let them hear what we had to go through today, or what we went through and what we learned today. Josh, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely, Mike. Thanks for having me.